In the 16th chapter of Mark, beginning at the 1st through the 8th verse, is how Mark recounts that beginning morning on that Easter so long ago. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb?" When they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look, there is the place they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he has told you." So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Like it or not, that really is how most of us begin the Easter story. We come to the tomb, or we encounter the story of the tomb, and we think of the emptiness, and we inevitably flee. We're seized by both the terror and the amazement, and we are tempted, because we don't understand it, not to say anything to anyone. When you encounter what nobody has ever encountered before, what seems utterly impossible, and it's happened right in front of you, when you expect one thing and something truly unexpected has taken its place, we turn our heads and we walk away. Oh, we talk about it, but we only talk to ourselves about it. We don't talk to anybody else. We don't share. We know if we really had to share with somebody else, we would be deemed crazy. That's what we'd say of them if it were them who shared with us. They would think we're overcome with emotion, or maybe just a little unstable. It's interesting, that's exactly what science looks for. Put the right chemicals together, say the researchers, and do it in the right order at the right temperature, and then if something absolutely remarkable happens, then try and do it again. And when you can't quite recreate it, somebody inevitably says, "Wait a minute, I put in 10 grams. I see it only meant 1. I see the temperature was in Celsius and I thought it was Fahrenheit. Oh, the order is this, this, and this, and I did it thus and that and the other thing." And whatever was different has suddenly become new and remarkable and worth pursuing. But when you're dealing with a once-in-a-lifetime event, an event that so utterly changes who you are, to mean that it's truly remarkable or impossible or improbable is not what we wanted. How do you explain to somebody else what caused a significant change within you when you can't show them and you really don't understand it fully yourself? That's why verse 8 is always included. That's why the ladies are really afraid. That's why they're amazed and in awe. And what do next? They run away in fear. But did you notice that that's not the end of the story? There's more to it. What did the young man sitting inside, dressed in the white robe, tell them? Do you remember what he said? "Don't be alarmed. You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who's crucified. He's been raised. He is not here. Look at the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." The story doesn't end with them running away in fear from the tomb. Later, if you read a little further on, the disciples show up in Galilee, and sure enough, Jesus is there just like he said he would be there. Just like was promised. What Jesus promised as they approached Jerusalem, what was told the ladies in the tomb was exactly the truth. Jesus was alive again. He chose to lay down his life, but he also chose to pick it up again. Keep reading the story today. Pick out some of those chapters beyond where we're at. Read something about Thomas, who isn't sure about it, but he places his hand in Jesus' side. Or the fishermen who meet Jesus at the seaside. They've spent the night fishing and have caught nothing. And he suggests one more time on the opposite side of the boat to throw their net. And when they've hauled it all ashore, he prepares a meal for them. The man who died, Jesus, picks up his life again, and he walks out of the tomb. He is alive. That's what this day is about. But that's not really the most remarkable part. Oh, it's amazing in and of itself, and we listen to it because it's a great story for that reason. But if you listen to what Jesus said as he came to Jerusalem, if we watched what happened in Jerusalem, if you listen to what he says will happen, the most incredible part is yet to come. The most incredible part is he promised that where he was, you and I would be too. Resurrection is not a Jesus phenomenon. It's about you and I realizing that one day we too will be on the other side of the stone, and that God will raise us up to new life as well. That's the reason that we celebrate this day. We come anticipating the day that we're going to rise, not just remembering when Jesus arose from the dead, but because we have placed our trust in him, we come anticipating the day we too shall rise. The ladies run away in fear. The disciples, in another gospel lesson, simply go home and wait to see what happens. Thomas kind of speaks the words for many of us when he says, as he hears from all the others about the risen Jesus, that until he knows for himself, it's not enough. Until you and I have seen Jesus for ourselves, until we have heard his voice, until we are included in the communication with this living Jesus, we just don't believe. Many of us have been born in lots of different places, but our hearts were born in Missouri, the show me state. Show me, show me. Until we see for ourselves, all we can really do is hope. And Easter is not about hope, folks. It is not about hope. The disciples listened to Jesus in the days traveling to Jerusalem. They heard him speaking about the coming death and about resurrection. At any point, they could have hoped for that. But Easter is not about hope. Hope is something that I think is coming down the road. Hope puts me out beyond today and another day. Hope is about something not now, but later. And Easter is about life today. Not life tomorrow, but life today. Jesus is not waiting for some future day. Hope is not still in the ground waiting to come up. Today we remember the morning of hope when the women arrived at the tomb. But the desire of our hearts is to be like those disciples who arrived back home in Galilee, to find Jesus there, walking and talking and fixing breakfast on the side of the ocean. We want Easter to be a story not about an empty tomb, but about an encounter with the living Christ. If we can talk to him ourselves, if we can know his presence for ourselves, if the story of the empty tomb can be lost and an encounter that we have with him, then hope gives way to life, new life. I don't hope for something that's yet to be. I remember instead the time that I encountered the living Christ, and because of that, I know that I am alive in Him. And because I am alive in Him, I will live and rise with Him. We come remembering a time long ago when what we really desire is to celebrate a living presence that cannot be taken from us. We don't want to hear about an empty tomb. We want to see Jesus. Do you see what the man in the white robes said to the ladies? Did you really listen to what he said? Don't be afraid. You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who is crucified. He's been raised. He is not here. Look at the place where they laid him. But go. Tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you. Go. Tell his disciples he is going ahead of you. There you will see him. In case you've forgotten, Galilee was their home. Galilee was the place where they had spent more time than any other in the company of Jesus. When they returned home, Jesus would make himself known to them all over again. Of course, we still come to Easter services seeking Jesus. But the really great news is that the promise is that if we continue to look, we will find him. We will be found by him, not always in the places we expect, not always in the big city or the great service. But if no place else, we will always be found by him at home. Jesus has gone ahead of you. That's what the man in the white cloth says to the ladies. He has gone ahead of you, and you will see him. We come to the story of the empty tomb wanting so much more, wanting to see Jesus. And even when all of the tomb is empty, there is still the promise that we have not missed him. He has simply gone ahead to where we will be. If you've come today looking for Jesus, you can find him here in the quiet time of the prayer, in the singing of the songs, in the joy of the new life that's celebrated. But if today has left you uncertain, hear again the words of that man sitting inside the tomb of Jesus. He is not here. He is going ahead of you. You will see him soon, just as he told you. He is alive. The empty tomb convinced some. Some had to talk to him in a garden in the morning. Some had to put their hands into his side. And some wouldn't be satisfied until they ate fish beside the Sea of Galilee. But the message is always the same. For all who seek him, they will ultimately find, because he is alive.